What's up, freeloaders? This is going to be an additional video to the new core content playlist. No, sorry, this is not the uh, trading execution models that people have asked about. This is just a lesson on why you should quit prop firms. And I think that a lot of people are going to instantly click away or not even click on it at all just by seeing the title. But this is an important lesson for any of you who are actually good traders. Um, I'm pretty sure that most of the decent traders have probably, or most of the no good traders have probably clicked away already or not clicked on this video because they would never consider going live because they think that any money that they put into the market is destined to eventually be taken from them. And that is the mentality that prop firms teach you. So I have some bullet points, um, and a couple of them apply to this. So we're going to go ahead and start with reading in. I'm going to have a little conversation going, a typed conversation going with AI to kind of discuss, some proof or some evidence behind some of the things that I'm saying, if need be. Um, First one I asked, I spelled reinforcement wrong, did a typo, left out an E. Do humans learn best from positive or negative reinforcement? So you can see I have not coached it. I'm just asking it specifically. I don't have anything plugged in to tell it to, give me answers that are more biased towards positive reinforcement or anything like that. So it says humans learn best from a combination of both, but positive reinforcement is generally more effective for long-term trading, motivation, and behavioral change. Negative reinforcement can create fast responses, but often leads to stress, avoidance, or short-term compliance rather than deep learning. So I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to ask for a little bit of evidence. Can you give me any evidence in the form of studies or any accredited research that proves humans learn behavioral changes long-term slash motivation slash behavioral changes from, oh my god, are you kidding? Hang on one second. Dude, what the hell? Okay, I just clicked that button down at the bottom and it's like started to generate this again. Can create fast behavioral adjustments but may lead to stress, avoidance, or reduced intrinsic motivation. Skill building for positive reinforcement, motivation, and long-term retention. For optimal learning, positive reinforcement should be the dominant method, with negative reinforcement used sparingly for correction. So this thing is thinking that I'm running a prison or something, which is kind of ironic because that's what a prop firm is. So what I was writing, can you give me any evidence in the form of studies or accredited research that proves humans learn long-term motivation, behavior changes more from positive reinforcement? Let's see what it has to say. It's searching the web for some information, so it doesn't have it in its database, it just knows it inherently. Research indicates that positive reinforcement is generally more effective than negative reinforcement in promoting long-term behavior change and motivation. Studies have shown, I'm down at the second paragraph now, studies have shown that positive reinforcement fosters a supportive atmosphere that encourages growth and self-esteem, essential components for sustained behavior change. For instance, in educational settings, positive reinforcement has been widely used to nurture desirable actions while improving self-worth. Let's see. Behavioral therapy indicates that positive reinforcement is effective in promoting desired behaviors while decreasing destructive and unwanted behaviors. Interesting. While decreasing destructive and unwanted behaviors. Does anybody here who's watching this who trades prop firms feel like they have a habit of destructive or unwanted behaviors? Because I know that that is exactly that is the perfect description of me on prop firms. 100% the perfect description of me on prop firms, and hundreds of students that I have mentored in this past year have the same outlook on their own activity in trading. They are destructive. They do things that they don't want to, things that they told themselves they're not going to, right? So why am I talking about negative versus positive reinforcement? Well, let's go over to the chart and talk about what's going on here as far as the um, psychological effect that prop firms have and how they give you more negative reinforcement than they do positive reinforcement. So for one, well, let me go over here for a second to not distract us with these drawings or with these writings because I just want to talk for a second. So the way that I look at it is that with a prop firm, right, they have different goals for you. So for instance, with Top Step, you have 200 a day. You have a $5,000 per payout limit. You have a random chance of being interrupted by technical errors, delayed payouts, or and then there's another one. It's the technical errors, the delayed payouts, and oh yeah, if they decide to move you to a live account. That actually can take traders out of the game. That I've had a live account with them. That can take traders out of the game for a week, sometimes more, depending on if they're not on top of their shit or not. Typically, I notice that the prop firms, whenever the market has good conditions, the prop firms shit the bed on how they behave, right? On how fast they get things done. So if there's a good setup and it's clean and there's a high bias chance that everyone's going to short it and it looks like it's going to work out, prop firms are going to shut down and be way slower than in any other scenario. It's just how it works. They have programs to do that. So it's no wonder that whenever they are getting influxes of people requesting payouts and stuff, it's all of a sudden their system shut down. Even though we have AI technology that can literally see you now and read. I mean, they have to pay what $200 a month to be able to have an extra helping hand that can see and do things and function. And this is a company that's making millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars a month probably. So let's talk about this for an example, and then let's also talk about the. Well, we're gonna talk about the. I don't even consider the rules for getting a payout or rules for passing a challenge to have anything to do with this because challenges are just so useless and stupid. It's such a waste of time. But so a challenge is 50% consistency with challenges, and we have a yeah, I think that's it. So that basically makes it a 2-day minimum rule, which is funny because the 2-day minimum rule, a lot of places have 2-day minimum rules. There is no good answer. I know that there's a big conversation out there about like which prop firm is best, which rules don't screw you over the most. I'm here to tell you all of them have their own poison. Um, you know, Apex not letting you leave runners because of trailing drawdown is bad because you can't capitalize early and then let a runner go because you're going to get punished for it if you do. And with Top Step, the 50% consistency on challenges, you think that that's going to make you be more consistent, but actually the way that most traders that I've encountered interpret that is, okay, I'm going to try my best to pass it in 2 days because there's a minimum limit and I'm already wasting time because I could be with a prop firm that's giving me a single day pass. So I'd rather do a prop firm that's, a multi-day pass, but just pass it in the minimum days, right? So people get that in their heads. Or they spend weeks trying to pass a challenge very slowly, very carefully, um, just working towards basically getting reset to zero for all their hard work and getting charged with a bill of $150. It's freaking hilarious. So that's going to help us transition into negative reinforcement. But let's talk a little bit more on that, go into depth about negative reinforcement. So, for instance, if you get more, let's say you're talking about a 50K account, 50K Top Step, okay? And I'm using Top Step as an example because I see them as the industry leader. I see them as like, the better prop firm, so to speak, even though they're all horrible. And so I'm looking at it from the perspective of this is what most people buy, especially now that they've changed all the rules. They've made the 150Ks pretty much pointless if you're buying them, or if you're buying any of them, it's a bad idea. But if you're buying the 150Ks, it's a really bad idea. So the 50K Top Step, let's just use it as an example. All right, so we've got a $3,000 target, a 1,500 per day maximum, and a $2,000 drawdown. Okay. So with this setup right here, um, essentially you can make, let's say in two scenarios. Okay, this is gonna be scenario one. This is gonna be scenario two. So let's start with scenario one. Scenario one is that you make too little, right? So let's say that you're only making 200 or per day, or maybe you make 1,000 in a day, or maybe you make, yeah. So let's just use those two actually. 200 a day for multiple days, or let's say you do 1,000 in one day, right? Well, then now you haven't hit the goal of halfway, and you haven't gotten any reward for your small efforts. So eventually, as you're killing time, if you're only making 200 a day, right? Let's split these up real quick actually. So if you're only making 200 a day, and you're not actually getting any money from it, then what you're doing is just slowly, incrementally making progress towards a $150 bill, while terrified that you're going to eventually, have a day that's worse than 200, and then you're going to blow all of it, and it's going to be very easy to blow all of it because it was just a $50 eval. So $200 a day, uh, right? With $200 a day, we have the issue where we uh, can have red days that wipe out all profits. Okay. Red days that wipe out all profits because um, it's only $50 risk. Okay. Now we have on the scenario 1,000 in a day, right? We have the other end of that, which is that um, you can become timid because you feel like you have something that's not real, something that's not there to protect. You can't actually take any money out and profit from that or pay yourself back for the work that you've put in. And so, because of that, you feel like, well, man, I should have pushed it to the 1,500. So, there are two scenarios here. One is that you will try to force another 500 because you're already almost halfway there. Or you try to pass in 3 days instead of two. Now, this is just as bad because you're not focused on actually trading what's there in front of you with reasonable size. You're working towards a goal. And a daily goal is horrible. And they tell you that they don't give you daily goals with these challenges, but realistically, typically the way humans work is we're very intelligent for the most part. We will form patterns in our mind to try to hit a target in a step by step basis. So if you make 1,000 in one day, you'd probably like to make 1,000 the next day, or maybe just 500 and then 1,500 the next day after that, if that's allowed. I don't know. So there are lots of different ways that in scenario one with the challenges that things can go wrong in that instance, right? And then in scenario two, we're talking about the $1,500 per day or fast pass, right? So with fast pass, right, what can go wrong is blow it if you don't hit 1,500 because it's only $50 and it's not worth more time, right? So why would we put a bunch of time into managing something that's only worth $50 that cannot actually give us any money, right? Until we pay a $150 fee and get reset to a funded account. And where is the incentive to not go on tilt, right? There's no incentive to not go on tilt. If you go on tilt, all it is just a credit card swiped that needs to happen again. You were probably going to buy another one anyways because everyone loses their prop firm account. Statistically, no one keeps their prop firm accounts for that long, and so yada yada yada, right? Whereas on the live, you can have a live account for years. There are many people who do. Right, so let's go over here, and I didn't talk about the drawdown much, but I think that you guys get the point really of like a lot of stuff that's wrong with trading those, with trading the challenges. So we're also going to talk about funded, okay? Oh wait, yeah, I was still on that. My bad. Let's get back over here. So let's talk about the funded section. All right, up here. This is so distracting. I need to pull it up. All right. So let's talk about funded. So now we're moving to funded. Congratulations, you paid 150, 200 total. Okay. So now, first things first. You're coming into the market with $200 invested, but a zero balance in your account. So nothing real to grow, right? Nothing real to grow. That's step one. Now, if you don't make 200, you are afraid that you never will pass the 5-day rule and get a payout, right? Now let's say that you have a day where you make, let's scroll up here and let's talk about these bigger numbers, right? So let's say you have a day on the live, on the funded, you make 1,200 in a day, okay? In one day, one trade even, because you went on tilt, right? Okay, but congratulations, you got lucky and you made 1,200 in that one trade. That's very exciting, but now you need to make 200 for 4 more days. Now here's what happens, okay? Because you tilted and made 1,200, your monkey brain now believes, I'm writing this down so that you guys can see it form in front of you as well. Your monkey brain now believes that you are capable of producing larger numbers. That's how it works. You are teaching yourself, even if you are desperate to not want to. And guys, I've mentored 600 to 700 students. 400 or 500 paid students, 600 to 700 in total, including non-paid students over the course of the last year or so. And I gotta tell you, I've heard it so many times that traders, they have these big days on their funded accounts where they do 5K, 10K, whatever it is. I had a guy come and join my server. He copied a trade that I took. This was early last year. He made 13,000 in one trade, right? On his funded account. And then he just needed to get 200 a day for 3 or 4 more days. And he blew the account. He didn't take a single payout. And you may think, wow, that guy's stupid, but I'm certain that you've done the same thing. I'm certain if you're watching this, you've done the same thing to some capacity. capacity. You just have had to because it's what prop firms make you do. It's how they survive. It's how they make money. And you think, oh, well, I've got to figure out a way to tell myself that it's not a prop firm. You can't do that. You can't do that because you're learning negative reinforcement on the days when you don't make enough to excite yourself. You're learning negative reinforcement. Why? Because it's not enough to get a payout. That's across the board. Apex has a threshold for how much you have to make. MFFU has a threshold for how much you have to make. Top Step has a threshold for how much you have to make per day for 5 days, right? So all of them have this threshold where if you don't perform to their standard, then you don't get paid. And so if you make money in a way that's not okay with them, the people who don't want to pay you, then you're hit with negative reinforcement. So what that looks like is you made $1,200 in a day. So there's two things that go in your head. One, you don't feel good about it because you feel like, I know I tilted, I shouldn't do that. So, I'm really going to lock down and not do that again. You also don't feel good about it because you have 4 more days and you don't know if you're going to get them. So you just made $1,200. You just took $200 and 6x'd it. Why the fuck can't you take your money? The brain doesn't compute that. The brain doesn't compute that. All it computes is that you have done nothing. You've done nothing for yourself. And it's negative reinforcement for spending time on the charts, being disciplined, and being focused and making money because you put that time and effort into making that money, but then you never saw it. So why would you continue to do the same positive habits, right? And then on the flip side, you have the positive reinforcement of, wow, I made $1,200. So even if you're telling yourself, oh, I know I tilted and I shouldn't do that again, I really want to be careful next time, yada, 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 all the bullshit we spew, right? Oh, I'm going to lock down, I'm going to take a day off. No, you're not. You didn't take a day off. You took 1 hour in the morning off, and then you saw a setup that you just couldn't deny, and so you took it, right? And then beyond that, you have the situation where you tell yourself, I'm only going to make 200 a day, or I'm, from here on out, I have 1,200, so I have a buffer now. So I'm not even going to think about a payout. I'm just going to trade it and buffer. You're going to think about it. Your brain thinks about way more than you comprehend, way more than you consciously recognize, and it recognizes $1,200. Boom. So why the fuck are we settling for 200? We should take more, right? If we can do 1,200, we should do 1,200 for 5 days and take a payout of what is that? 6,000 divided by 2, right? So 3,000. So why not do 1,200 a day for 5 days? I mean, you're already going to be trading. You're already going to be exposing yourself to risk, right? What if you take a trade and you lose 500? Then you're, only 700 profit. So if you're going to gamble and possibly lose money, then you need to go ahead and just be aggressive and make more money because you never know when that day is going to come when you tilt again and you lose and everything fucking goes away. And that is what prop firms do to you. It doesn't matter what prop firm you're using. I am in your head. I'm reading you because I know how this works. So let's also talk about some other scenarios of trading specifically with prop firms. Let's go over here and let's make an example of how you would trade a prop firm versus how you would trade a live account. All right. So let's talk about a live account where you somehow find some sort of POI and you get it on a long right here. Or let's say you get it on a long right here. As it's running up and there's some sort of lower time frame thing in here that you can put your stop loss under for 50 points, okay? So let's say that's your trade, and let's say you take 3 contracts, right? On whatever contract side, whether it's micro or mini, let's say you take 3, right? On a live account, what live traders do, well, most that I've seen, is that they wait for it to get to 1-to-1, they take profit. They wait for it to get to 1.5 to 1.2, they take profit. And then the other one, it doesn't matter if they get stopped out and they have to do extra work for the rest of the day or later or tomorrow or something and they don't make $1 billion today, right? They put their last contract at break even. That's what I do. That's what Whirling does. That's what, oh God, who's the other guy? Trader Kane does, right? These people, they're going to break even and they're securing small profits and they're letting their runners do the work, right? So you can go to break even, or on a live account, you move your stop loss just to where, if you lost on the last contract, you would still profit on the middle contract, right? And that's how you trade on live because you're protecting real capital because it matters and because securing that money means you get a paycheck, right? Now, on a prop firm, securing that money, if it's not enough, if it's not 5K, then you're liable to blow through all of it in the next 4 fucking days while you try to get a payout, or on Apex 10 days, or on MFFU a couple weeks, whatever it is, right? On the expert plan, or 5 days, same as Top Step, on the starter plan, right? So, and then you've got limitations. You've got to get over a certain threshold. So, oh, wait, you did trade for 5 days, but you didn't make enough money actually. So, even though you were trying to be careful and patient, trade micros, sorry, kid, you have to make 1,200 more to be able to take a single payout for like 1,000. You're like, well, I already made 1,000. No, no, that's not how it works, right? So in real trading, in real life trading, because prop firm is not real trading, you're trading fucking paper, okay? In real trading, you are looking at this and you're saying, okay, I've secured my profits and I'm letting my runner do the work. I've researched this trade and I've decided that it's good for me to put risk on for it. And so if I believed in it enough to lose money, I believe in it enough to put my stop loss to break even, right? That's how it works. Now, with prop firm accounts, there's a little bit of a different mentality. I'm going to say something, and if it resonates with you, all I'm asking you to do is just leave a comment and just put an emoji with a hand up, okay? Emoji with a hand up. How many times on prop firms, let's say on a funded account or an eval, whatever it is, funded or eval, right? Let's say that you're up a couple $1,000, okay? Or $1,000 or something like that, or 200 points. And you don't take profits, or maybe you had 3 contracts, you only took 1, right? Or 5 contracts probably because you're over leveraging because you're on a prop firm account, and you only took 1 for profit, right? And your stop loss is still down here, okay? And then what happens is, as it comes down against you, right, then your stop loss moves a little bit. And you're like, oh. And at this point, you're thinking, well, I was all the way up there. And what's going on in your mind is, and raise your hand in the comments if you've done this, what's going on in your mind is that you have told yourself, well, this money's not real unless I get over a certain ridiculous amount, because I don't have faith in myself that I can confirm, or that I can continue to make the money that I need to get all of the profits out of the market that I had secured yesterday, or that I had secured on this trade, right? So what I mean is, I can't just make $1,000 because I've got to make 5K because I know I'm going to blow through probably half of it before I get a payout. Or you're on an eval and you're like, well, I'm not halfway there. I didn't pass it, so I'm just gonna let the trade go. And honestly, fuck it, it's not worth my time. I spent all this time in this trade and it's not fruitful. So maybe it's just a bad setup. Maybe I need a new strategy. Right? Anyone raising their hand yet? And all the things that we tell ourselves to just get through the day, right? So then the price starts coming back, and instead of being at break even, now you're losing. And then maybe you say, well, I'm only going to take off 1 here, or maybe 2 here, just so my account doesn't get blown by the time I get down here, because I think we could actually use this as a stop loss all the way over here instead. Now that I think about it, maybe this is a better stop loss right here, because look, it's like below this low, and this low like went all the way up here. So, I'll use that instead, right? And so you tell yourself that bullshit, that lie, you just keep going. And look, this thing is pumping. I'm in a long right now, thank God. I've been in long since this morning. I think my lowest contract was 686, and I'm hoping for this bad boy up here. But I'm not in the same contract. When Jerome Powell stopped speaking, I actually added a contract, took my first contract for 100 points, and then left my new contract running. So my new contract is in from 739.50, 739.25, which is just about to pass the 100 point mark. But I'll do a video on that later. So anyways, and by the way, that stop loss is at break even, okay? And actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and move my stop loss a little bit up into some profit right here, because why not? Make a little bit of profit off the table. Boom. All right, so move the stop loss up. And that's not something that you do on live, right? Or that's not something that you do on evals, because on an eval, I would have probably already been down in red in some capacity. And I would be needing to see price go all the way up to, I don't even know. I can't imagine. But let me just think. Let's say that I told myself I needed like, a big banger for 150 points, or maybe like I added right here, trying to say, oh well, I only think it's going to go to the top, and so I really want to add because I need to capitalize on this. And if the trade goes, like I'll have 4K on this live account or this funded account, and I need that to work out, and then I can make like just 200 for the rest of the days. And then you add a contract, and then it goes down here for how many points? For 40 points. And then you get out and you're like, fuck, I'm going to wait for a confirmation. And then you realize, shit, there is no possibility for confirmation, right? And so then you chase price and you're unsure, so you don't get it in as much size. You're never going to hit your goal with it because it's gambling. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to treat it like real money because the money is not real. That is the thesis of this video. The money is not real. So one, we learned long-term deep lessons from positive reinforcement. Two, we learned stress/submission from negative reinforcement. So the way that we respond to negative enforcement instead of learning a long-term lesson is learning how to hide and be scared and be punished and be submissive, right? So we're not learning about how to be smart because prop firms, their whole thing is they know that there are good traders in the world that will bankrupt them. They know that there are good traders out there who will say, holy shit, I can make, like if you took a pro trader, like someone from a hedge fund or something, and you put them on prop firms and you didn't tell them that they were prop firms and they thought it was real, holy crap, dude, they would bankrupt those fuckers in like a week. I'm not kidding. Look up some stories. Not about prop firms, but just about the performance of these guys, these pros, right? And those are people that I aspire to be to the level of eventually. Let's blow this up a little bit here. So we don't learn very well on like actual strategy and what works. Like for instance, when I started with live, right, it started making a humongous difference in how I take executions. One of the things I learned when moving to live and starting to slowly distance myself from prop firms, and now I'm permanently away from prop firms forever. One of the things that I started to learn though is what does a red day look like for me? I know now, and I bet you 9 out of 10 of you, no, 99 out of 100 of you don't know what a red day looks like for you. I can describe it in three terms. My bias is incorrect, the pivot lies, and the market is choppy and ranging. For my strategy, I get fucked on that. So it doesn't work for me, right? It doesn't work for me. So I know how to stop on a red day on my live account. On prop firms, I don't know how to stop. There is no stopping on prop firms because it's like you only put a little bit of money into this, but also you need to get that money out because you're starting with a loser mentality. You're down. You paid someone money, not money that you can then get back and say, hey, let me take this back instead. I don't think this is a good idea. No, that money is theirs, right? And you paid it rather than investing it, okay? So what's happened is you can't learn from taking a trade on your, let's say on your third day, right? Your third day of Top Step, and you take a trade for $1,000, and now your account is up 2,500, and you are stoked, right? You are not going to learn a long-term lesson from the success of that trade. I'm sorry, you're not. You're not going to learn a long-term lesson. Why? Because there's no positive reinforcement. There's only negative reinforcement. There's only, well, fuck, it's not day 5 yet, or oh man, I risked too much. I shouldn't do that. I should only do 200 the next day. Or man, I really wish I was on a live account, or whatever it is. Or I wish I had done that one account that is like instant funded. Or you're thinking about, man, I blew that other eval, and by this time it would have been my 5th day if I hadn't blown it. I'm so fucking stupid. All these things that go through your head that you're beating yourself up on a good day. How many of you have good days on your prop firm accounts and don't feel happy? You don't feel light or positive or you don't believe in yourself, right? You don't believe in yourself anymore. You don't grow in confidence or intelligence. Now, on a live account, if I make $1,000, I'm like, oh, fuck. I need to study the hell out of that, and I'm going to study it until I know what exactly it is that I did so right and what the conditions were and how I can replicate this. And I'm going to learn from that positive experience, right? Long term, I'm going to be motivated to get back on the charts. and to spend time. I'm not going to be afraid of the charts. Like fear of the charts is another thing. Now, respect for the charts, entirely different story. Fear of the charts is not a good thing to have. Being afraid, and what I mean by fear of the charts, I don't mean like a awareness that the charts could take you out. That is more of a respect for the charts. A fear of the charts is it's 9:30 and you have a knot in your stomach. Raise your hand. Anybody? Raise your hand in the comment section, right? If that's you. If it's been 9:30, if it's been 9, if it's been 8:30, if it's been 10, whatever it is that you're looking at the chart, it fucking Asia session opens up and you get a knot in your stomach. Why is that? It's because your crackhead mind is like, okay, I'm ready to fucking capitalize. I'm ready to try to make it all back. And the deeper, more intelligent part of you is going, uh-oh, we're about to get fucking beat. We're about to get chained up to the wall and whipped and sprayed with cold water and stripped naked and humiliated. And that's just how it works. You have a battle going on in your head that says like, no, please, please, please stop doing this. And you're like, yes, 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 I have to make this. I have to do this, right? And one of the issues is that because you're not going to learn long term, because you do 4 good days of trading, 1 bad day of trading, and because you haven't seen any of that money that you made on those 4 good days of trading, you haven't learned from the positive experiences, and all you've learned is that nothing that I do works, and so you go on tilt. You go on tilt and you never see that money. And then what happens when you never see that money? You never learn the positive lesson. You don't learn positive lessons from not getting fucking paid. That's just how it works. Okay? And I'm talking about, when I say this, I'm talking about day 1 through 4. If we're talking about Top Step, I'm literally saying day 1, 2, 3, and 4. You will learn no lessons on besides negative reinforcement. It is just psychology. It's brain chemistry. It's a fact. You will not learn any positive lessons on day 1 through 4. Day 5, if you take a trade and it's very calculated and it's great, and you happen to not just full port it and hope that it works and get your 5th day, right? And you take a calculated trade, you're going to learn from that one. Congratulations. It took you 2 days to pass the challenge. Well, 7 days if you count the other 4 challenges that you blew. And it took you 5 days to get here. And now on the 5th day, this is the only time you learn a positive lesson. If you do it right on the 5th day, it's the only time you learn a positive lesson, because then you tell yourself, oh my God, I'm getting paid. I'm getting paid, and you're so excited and your heart's racing. You're like, fuck, dude. You're posting on Discord about it. On Twitter, you're like, I got my first payout, and you're worshiping whatever mentor it is that you follow, right? And that's just how your life is. That's how your life is if you're a prop firm trader. You get that. And in live trading, it's so different. It's like, yeah, I get fucking paid. I traded and made money. Like I put money, I bet on a position, and I was correct in my analysis. And so, boom, there's money, cash in my account right now that I get to take out if I want to. And you get positive reinforcement from that. Wow, I did something that made money versus I did something that got me 80% of the way to making money and then I fucked up and failed. I did something today that got me 20% of the way to making money. Whatever it is, right? 50% of the way to making money. But you never actually have any button that you press that really makes you money. They split it up so you don't get this hit of like intelligence boost and of the dopamine and of all of the reward systems that we have that teach us to like do that again. When it goes down here, be like one of the lessons that you can learn on live. When to chase price and when to not chase price. Sometimes there are appropriate times to chase price. Sometimes there are appropriate times to wait for price to come down to a level for you to get in at a lower risk position, right? And you're not going to know that on a prop firm account because it's always going to be emotion. You're always going to end up doing the opposite of what you're supposed to do. When you're supposed to chase price, you're not going to, because you're going to tell yourself, oh no, I need to have discipline because I believe in this trade, so I need to have discipline, right? I believe in this trade, so I need to be disciplined. Okay? Or I don't believe in this trade, so I don't need to be disciplined. And then what happens on the one that you don't believe in? It fails because you know what you're doing. You've studied the market. You're not a bad trader. But you were right in your heart in thinking you're not confident in this trade. And so you're going to have bad discipline either way on the way you execute it. And it's just not like that on live. You take a trade and you say, and let me try to explain what I'm saying, right? So let's say that price comes down here. And then it just goes boom, straight up, starts running, right? and there's some 5 minute or whatever fair value gap that you're looking at getting closed over, and then you're like, well, after that, I really would like to see a retracement. I really want to see it here first, but then I'd be okay with even if it just came back into this FEG. Then it comes back in, and then you don't really take it, and then you're like, maybe it'll go lower, and then you try to get in one, and it goes a little bit lower. You get out, you're like, oh, you know what? It's definitely coming down to the 50% of the flip, and then it doesn't. It stops right here, and then it rips up, and you're like, fuck, and you try to get in, and then it retraces, and you try to get out, right? So you chase price, or you didn't chase price on a trade that you knew was good because you don't want to fuck up a good trade, and you're smart for that. You don't want to fuck up a good trade. You want to be disciplined, right? But the problem is that on the really good trades that you're super confident in, those are the better ones to just hop in and go with. On the ones that you're on a 5 confluence trade, those are the ones you need to go and hop in with, right? And now let's say that you have a different scenario where like, well, it kind of did this, and then it like wicked this double low, and I really don't think it's supposed to be doing this here, but it did go up, and there's a fair value gap right here. It just got rejected down by one right here, but I think it's just going to bounce real quick. So I'm just gonna buy it right here. And then it goes, and you're like, oh shit, well, what do? I'll just add contracts because I'm already practicing bad habits right now anyways, being a fucking retard. So let me just buy more, right? And then you buy more, and then what does it do? It goes up a little bit, and you're like, oh, maybe I should take some profit for $25, and then it just shits on you. And then you're dragging your stop loss, you're getting cooked because it was a bad trade. So you had what you believe to be a bad performance. But really, how you enter a trade is not the battle to be fighting. How you enter a trade is so much less important than what trade you take. And I know that there's going to be a lot of ICT aggros in the chat that are pissed off from getting liquidated 17 times this week. So, and it's only a Tuesday. So, if that's you, then leave me alone, please. But that's just how it works. Like you're chasing bad trades because chasing is a bad thing to you, and you're not chasing good trades because you don't do that on a good trade because you don't want to blow your opportunity of a perfect setup. It's totally ass backwards on live. It teaches you to see through the mess, right? So let's talk about, again, with the money, let's talk about the monetary side right here. So the loss is not real, right? So when you're in a trade and you're down $1,000, you don't feel it. Why? Because it's prop firm money. It's not real money. So who fucking cares? And you do the math, and you're like, well, I have 2,000 drawdowns, so it's only $50. So it's only $100 because I paid $200 in total for the account, right? Wrong. Stupid. All you're doing is learning to suck at trading. Like, you're learning to be $1,000 in drawdown. Look at yourself. Like, how bad do you have to get where you are taking trades and losing 100 fucking points or whatever it is, 200 points in a day, 300 points in a day? Right? Like, I know, and I'm not insulting them. I have blown accounts on micros. I've blown live accounts on micros. I've blown tons of funded accounts on micros. I'm talking about micros, man, where I've lost, like, I've gotten so bad, and you guys have seen the things I can do. You guys have seen, if you're following my YouTube, my Twitter, you guys have seen the 370 point long yesterday, and the long I took today, and took 100 points, and in another one up 100 points, 2 100 point trades in a day. Like, you guys know that I can do this well, but at the same time, there's this piece in me that does so poorly on props, and all the traders that I've analyzed and taught, mentored over the last year or so, and it's just because the loss is not real. And another thing, why don't we take profit? Because the gain is not real. Okay? So I'm not going to drag my stop loss up into profit. Maybe I will to idealize it, and then I'll drag it back down, right? I'm not going to drag my stop loss into profit if the gain is not real anyways, because if it's not real, and the only thing that makes it real is if I make some sort of ungodly hysterical amount, like 20K in a day, like that guy on Twitter did yesterday, right? And I want to be like him. And you're not going to take profit when you should because the money's not real. So you let it come back against you and wipe out all your gains that you could have had. And then you're sitting there like, oh, fuck. And then you're thinking and you're coping and saying, well, I probably wouldn't have made the money anyways because I suck at what I do and all this stuff. But you don't really suck. You don't really suck. You're just poisoned. You're just sick. The money is not real. So the money, we have a detachment from credit cards. We have to swipe a credit card to use these prop firm accounts. Once that money is spent, it's gone too. So that money is as good as gone to you. When you have $1,000 in a live account, buddy, that money is not as good as gone to you. Now, you can invest money that you're okay with losing. That's what you should be doing. You should only be investing money that you can survive losing, that you're okay with losing. It's not part of your savings or money that you need to pay your bills this month or anything like that, right? But it's still real money. That's still a real 1 grand sitting in the account, right? So you have some sort of attachment to that money, not in an unhealthy way of like unwilling to risk it, unwilling to lose it, but you're like, I'm not going to take a trade or make a decision if it's not smart. And so you're already instantly, boom, you have an attachment. That money is real. So you're not going to just throw it out of the window, right? But with prop firms, the first thing we do is like, fucking throw it out the window, go full port. Or, we go low size because we're not very confident. It's like, what are you fucking talking about, dude? And then it doesn't actually end up low size. You end up tripling the contracts by the end of it by the time you get stopped out, and then you try the trade again and you get stopped out, and then you blow the account, and then you buy a new one so you can try to catch the long, and then it just keeps going down, then you buy the new one so you can try to catch the short, and then it finally then turns around, and then you fucking kill yourself. And that's just the end. In game, you kill yourself in game, not in real life. I'm not don't want to risk monetization or anything. So the money's not real. Now let's talk about the mindset, temporary mindset. What do I mean by that? Once I, then I will. Once I ... What is that? Once I get a payout. Once I get funded. Once I get 2 payouts. Once I pay myself back for the fees. Once I have enough capital to start a big account. Once I get 5 payouts, I'll put the money into a live account and then do it, right? So you don't have, you have a temporary mindset, and why is that, right? It's no mystery. Like, once I do this, then that, is that inherently wrong? No, it's not inherently wrong. We have an order of operations in our lives as humans. But the thing that is wrong with it is typically that the temporary mindset is not bad, but where is it coming from and what does it mean for your performance long term? Well, what it means is the Top Step accounts or the Apex accounts or MFFU accounts or TFT accounts, FTF accounts, Dick and Balls accounts, all of those, they teach you to know that your account is going to be gone and that your account is temporary, right? So the money that you make in this week or in this month, it's not going to be here next month. It's not going to be here next week. Less than half of it, or maybe probably none of it, because most traders don't even take payouts. The majority of that money or none of it is going to be in your account, and it's also not going to be in your bank account. It's also not going to be in your trading account because you're probably going to lose this account. That's just how it works. And so with that temporary mindset, like now that I trade live and I'm only trading live, my mind is like, okay, well, all right, let's think about percentages, right? I'm looking at my P&L from a weekly perspective, from a monthly perspective, from a yearly perspective. And you're like, yearly? What the fuck? We would never think that about a prop firm account because it's ridiculous. Of course you wouldn't. Because they're not designed to last. They're not designed to last. If you do go that long, they put you on a live account with the same fucking rules. And then they take a fee from you. And on top of that, they charge you data fees that they're taking a spread on just to make more money off of you. It's a freaking mess. And then the last one is extremely obvious, is a gambling mentality. Where this basically sums up all of it, right? We're playing the odds, right? There's those people who try to game the system. I talked about this in my psychology video. You are not smarter than the people who run the prop firms, dude. They get paid so much money. You have no idea. If you could be on the inside, and I know this because I've studied other industries that their whole purpose is to make people addicted. I did a deep dive study on Instagram, literally when I was in high school. I wrote a fucking paper on this over Christmas break, and it was literally like they pay people ungodly amounts of money, and they hide this from the public. They pay people ungodly amounts of money to specifically design their app to be extremely addicting. We just hit 100 points. Bingo. To be extremely addicting, right? So we're addicted as hell to this, not because we're just bad and we're stupid, but because they have paid professionals who are making way more money than you, who are way smarter than you and me. They're fucking geniuses. They're looking at you like a number on a screen. You're just an algorithm in the way of of what they're doing, right? And you're just an obstacle in the way of them forming an algorithm, is what I meant to say, right? So that you're just a workaround. Like you're not gonna beat that, and you try and try and try. You buy 10 accounts and you hedge that. You hedge five, and you pass it, and then you buy. You take a trade on one account, blow it, and then go lower and full port and blow it, lower and full port and blow it, lower and full port. Oh my God, the fourth out of the five actually hit, and then what happens is you get 20 points up, and you think you were going to hold it for 100 points, but then it has a little bump, and you take profit. And you're like, fuck, I just blew three accounts for 20 points, right? And that's not enough to withstand and get a payout. So then you're like, oh, tomorrow I'll start with my shitty account, or the one that I didn't make any money on, or the one that's in drawdown already, or whatever it is. And then, like, if that trade doesn't work, then I'll try to take it on this account. And then you just get run through on both of them, or you miss the opportunity. And it's like, you're not even thinking about how to trade. When you're trying to game the system and when you're using prop firms, it just says you don't believe in yourself as a trader. And I've gotten to the point now, guys, where I believe in myself as a trader. I just do. I wholeheartedly 1000% believe that I am going to make a full time living this year off of trading and provide for me and my wife. We're going to start traveling in April. Um, and we're traveling for an entire year. We're going to go to California, Canada, Florida, Southwest Colorado, potentially New Mexico, Arizona. Like we're gonna be doing it and just living while traveling, and I'm gonna be trading. And on prop firms, I never would have had the confidence to feel like, hey, I can do that. But with the experience on the live account, that's totally changed. I believe in myself. I know what I can do, and I because I've seen it. I've seen myself get paid real money by just simply following my strategy and executing it on a regular basis, and taking risk on trades, taking extra risk on trades that I really believe in, taking lower trades on risk with three confluences, taking more risk on trades with five confluences, or more risk, yeah, more risk on trades with seven confluences. Um, and just protecting my capital, looking at the P&L through a weekly perspective is a thing that I'm working on now. And just growth. I mean, the numbers are ridiculous. If you grow your account 10% a week for, hang on, let's look at that. You guys want to talk about live account and fun stuff? So we're going to talk about this for a second, because right, we've got a short-term mentality. So why is it important to have a long-term mentality? If we can just continue to make money on each payout, and then blow the account and make another payout, and blow the account and make another payout, right? Then why do we fucking care about long-term? Well, let's talk about live, and let's talk about compounding. If you took an account, let's say you started with 100, or sorry, 1,000, compounding weekly for 1 year. And 1 year, wow, I can't have an account for 1 year. I'm going to blow it by then. You don't have to. You're going to learn very quickly how to be smart. Dude, when I started my account with $1,000, my live account with $1,000, I literally was just taking trades, and like with a couple micros, and it would go up like 25 to 50 points, and I would take 50 to $100. And I'd take 50 to $100 on the other one. And then I'd be like, oh shit, wow, that's $100, or that's $200. And I'm like, hey, wait, isn't that like 20% or 10%? And then the next day it was like $120. And I was like, oh shit, I was able to kind of risk a little bit more, hold a little bit more, because I was more confident and I believed in myself and all this stuff. And I did this, maybe this is a better trade. So then the next day I take three, and I'm like, wow, I went from 1,400 or 1,300 or whatever to fucking 1,550 or 1,600. I'm like, wow, that's a big percentage. And growing the account, growing the account, growing the account, and you're learning this positive reinforcement all the while, and making actual money and compounding your account to the point where, like me, people always ask, like, when should I size up and when should I scale? Like, dude, that answer is going to come to you. That question is going to answer itself if you're actually trading on a live account. Well, I promise you don't need mentorship on that. You don't need mentorship on like how much size, because it's just going to, the market's going to tell you. If you start an account with $500 and you turn it into 1,000, you might not double your size, but you might add one contract. Who knows, right? If you get it to 10,000, maybe it's way more contracts, or maybe you're finally fucking around with a couple minis instead, or something. With if you're scalping and have small, tight stop losses. I don't know, but let's look at this: 1,000 compounding weekly for 1 year. You people are like, gotta see this, right? Let's talk about 10%. My personal compound rate is 25%. but that's not realistic for a lot of people, right? So let's just go with 10% for a year for 1,000. Let's let it do its thing. I need an excuse to use this so I don't look silly for pulling it up in the beginning, anyways. All right, initial amount will grow to 142K. That's more than you get paid if you're watching this video. Not trying to insult you. I'm just saying that's more than you get paid if you're watching this video. 142,000. If you have the patience to grow it. If I said to you, you can have 142K in 1 year, or you can continue to gamble and try to make 2 to 5K if you get extremely lucky on 1 to 5 accounts stacked on Top Step or on Apex or something. Which would you take, right? Because this is the reality. This is the truth. I'm not making this up. These are real numbers. So like for me, let's talk about let's talk about at 25%, right? Let's say that at 1,000 for my hit rate, 25% weekly compound 1 year. Now this is going to be extremely inaccurate to what I'm actually anticipating to make because this doesn't factor in taking out payouts, right? So let's talk about after hitting 12K, pay myself 3K. After hitting 50K, start paying, after hitting 80K, a salary of 8K a month. Okay? Paying yourself a salary. This will be more realistic. It's going to take a second. Well, this trade was up 200. Now it's only up, or 100. Now it's only up 85 points. He's on hitting this freaking bearish resistance zone and it just can't break above 840 for some reason. Can't break 840. Let me look at this for a second. That doesn't really make much sense, does it? Oh, I know what it's gonna do. It's got to go take out 792 and then go rip it, and that's gonna be the breaker catalyst for the entire thing, dude. Oh man, yeah, that seems like a possible outcome. I don't know. If I lose this trade, I'm still fine, but I mean, I'm up 80 something points still, but it's just an idea. But it's the end of the day. I'm gonna have to get out of this soon, anyways. Uh, this is what I'm talking about. This is just way too unrealistic. So, I mean, after hitting 12K, withdrawing 8,000 a month salary after hitting 80K, your final balance in a year is still fucking 80 million. So that's not realistic at all, but I'm just saying like let me try let's say that um after add in that after 200K, I start taking a salary of, instead of 8K a month, let's call it 15K a month. Let's try to slow this rate down and actually pay ourselves some stuff, right? And I'm doing this not to just fantasize with you guys, but to give you guys an example of how there is something on the other side of this. Because I know a lot of you are going to be thinking, like, how does a live account even work? How do you make money? Obviously, you know that you trade and you succeed at trading and that makes you money. Duh, you guys aren't idiots. But I'm just saying this is a real example of how you would do calculations. And, the way that you measure your growth rate is just by trading the live account for a couple months and seeing, like, what's my growth rate, right? Um, this is stupid. This is wrong. No, 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 no. That can't be right. So silly. Okay, hang on. I gotta have it show me the math. This doesn't make sense. I mean, this is not even possible because the kind of volume you would need to be trading, you would be like starting to move the market a little bit, and that's just not something that anyone wants to like do. Um, I need to check my ATR real quick. Give me one sec. All right, this thing's trying to fix itself right now. It's like doing negative numbers and stuff and not showing any withdrawals. So if it doesn't figure it out, I can just do the math myself and then show it on the screen, honestly, and that'll be the end of the video because this is already an hour long, and I'm not gonna cut this down because I don't have the time to edit through it. Yeah, this thing is so stupid, dude. Okay, um, I'll give it another give it another minute. I'm gonna pause the recording. Okay, AI is being mental, so we're just gonna do the math here real quick. Um, so let me pause the video and do it, and then I'll show it. All right, that took me quite some time. I did have to use AI a little bit. I was able to get it to work in some ways, but not really how I wanted to. So this is just a hypothetical scenario that I'm making because I think that it can be kind of like an example of how you can form something that fits your style. So I understand that growing at 25% compounding weekly is pretty unrealistic for like a whole year or something. I mean, you'd be a god to be doing that on like higher numbers. It's much easier on lower numbers because going from 1,000 to 1,200 is not hard, but going from 10,000 to 12,000 is a little harder. Going from 100,000 to 20,000 is a little harder, right? So we want to account for that in how we grow the account. And so as these numbers get bigger, you'll notice the account growth go down and down and down, right? And so this is an example of how you would create this customized for you based on your own performance. Get a live account, not financial advice, get a live account, put whatever you can in it, and see what your growth rate is for a month or two, right? Following good habits and being consistent. And then after that, um, start to plug that into your own system. So this is just a one that I made up. This is not my system. My system is different than this. I have a very specific system for how I'm going to be doing this for me. Um, but we're going to go through this real quick. So starting balance of 1,000 to 500 in 8 weeks. So if you're growing at a 25% growth per week compounding, it's going to take you 2 months to go from 1K to 5K. Now, it probably is going to take you less time than that if you're a good trader, but you just have to set the bar at, reasonable statistics. And then if you outperform, right? So after that, pay yourself your 2K and get your invested money back plus a 1K day. And now you got three in the account, right? It's going to take you another 2 months to grow it at that same rate up to 15K, paying yourself 5,000. After that, you have a 10,000 balance, and it's going to take you a little bit longer, 9 weeks, but it's going to be more worth it because then you're paying yourself 10K on that instance, right? And that's only at a 15% growth. So already we're going from having to grow aggressively at 25%, so that's 2,500 in a week, down to 1,500 in a week, starting out for your compounding factor, and then 9 weeks later you've grown up to 35,000 and can afford to pay yourself 10K. That's really nice, right? Now after this, right, then we're looking at we're getting close to kind of where we transition into a different payout system, right? And again, this is custom. This is not my system. 25,000 to 75,000 in 9 weeks at a 50% growth rate. So again, 15% growth rate is much more doable than 25%. You might not be there at that place, and so it might be like a 10% growth rate per week, right? So 2,500 in a week. If you're dealing with 25,000, that's still not bad. You're just going to get to where you want to be long term a little bit slower, and that's okay because you're going to get where you want to go anyways, and that's the idea here. After that growth to 75K, paying yourself 25, and then you have a balance of 50,000 because 75 minus 25 is 50. It's going to take you 3 months, so a little bit longer period again, to be able to grow this account at a 10% growth instead of a 15. So we're dropping down again by 5% because 10% makes it, you can take a balance of 50,000, make 5,000 a week. That's possible. It's not as possible to say, okay, let's expect ourselves to do 12.5K in a week, right? That's a little bit ridiculous. So we're not going to be looking at it from that perspective. And the market is just freaking selling off here. after it hit my 100 points. It is so annoying how it can just do that, right? On these Jerome Powell days, I really thought that 792 would give us a nice reaction and some sort of entry model for longs to finish our draw up higher, but it is just not doing it. I don't know why. It's ripping selling off today, man. Like anytime that it starts going down, this thing is just nosediving. This is crazy. Looks like we're gonna get stopped in profit today instead on this one. That's fine. Um, okay, so after that, paying yourself 50K, that's a huge payout. That puts a big cushion in your pocket to cover you for some time, and you've got 100,000 to play with, right? You might even want to take more out than that. This is not financial advice. It's just an example model, so you have one to look at to kind of say, okay, I know what I need to implement into mine, right? So beyond this, uh, at this point, it's been 46 weeks. You can round it up to a year if you want for holidays or whatever, right? Time off. Um, and you've taken the payouts in total of 92,000. That's great. That's probably more than you're making watching this video, and that's a that's a great jump up, and that's a point where you can say, hey, you know what? This is an actual viable thing to do full time, right? Um, Now going a little bit lower, we see that our final growth rate, and let's call it a new growth rate because um, it's more temporary. It's not final. I wrote that, and then I realized I can actually go down. So new growth rate, 5% a week, compounding cash flow on a 100K account. So you're talking about initially right off rip, we're talking about making 5,000, and then a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. With a $100,000 account, if you're a really good trader, you should be able to average that 5,000 on the week. If there's no good trading setups, and there's no good trading setups, but typically what I've seen with good traders, this is a very doable thing, you know. So cash flow on that account over 6 months, you can still pay. You can pay yourself another 60 grand in 10K a month increments, and at the end of every month, you know, every 4 weeks, and continue to grow the account to 240K. So you see how even at 5% compounding and paying yourself 60K, this account is starting to really, really grow. And then now we want to say, hey, let's reduce the growth rate. Let's get comfortable, reduce the growth rate to 2.5% a week and continue to take 10K a month of payouts. And then even still, in 6 months from then, the account grows 120K from 240 to 360. Now we can reduce the growth rate to about 1% a week, continue to take our 10K a month or 120K a year salary, right? And after a year, we still grow another 80K in account size. So we're paying ourselves. We're staying very, very conservative by only doing 1% a week, right? So 1% a week on a $360,000 account is 3,600, and then it just goes up from there because it's compounding, right? But we're doing very minimal numbers on percentage. So if you're scaling properly and you can get your psychology there, then all you're doing is saying, hey, I'm just, you know, it's a lot more contracts than I used to trade, but you know, you're going to be a smarter trader by that time, a better trader, better at risk management, all that. So I see it being that, you know, getting it up to that size, then we're at 440. Really, the sky is the limit for just upping your salary and keeping the account balance stable, right? You might even not want to get this high. You might only ever want to get to like a couple 100,000 in an account, and that's totally reasonable. A couple 100,000 in an account and growing at a reasonable rate between 2.5 to 10% on any given week and compounding it and only paying yourself monthly or quarterly, you're going to be freaking blown away by the kind of returns that you can get. And long term, you can just keep your account at, you know, whatever amount it is that you feel comfortable with. Let's say, you know, let's say it's 100,000, and you're growing your account at a rate where you can just take all the payouts, and just every time you take a payout, just leave 100K in. And some weeks you do better, and some weeks you do worse, but you just take whatever you make, and that's it. Then there's an option for that as well. It's customizable, but I'm just trying to show you guys a glimpse of like what is accomplishable when you're compounding. And that's the whole idea with trading. It's never to the idea with trading isn't to just freaking put your money in the S&P 500 and just hope it grows at 15%. It's not to put $200 into a prop firm and 10x it and then blow the prop firm and do it again, do it again, and do it again. That's what prop firms are taking away from you. That's the big conclusion of this, is they're taking away your compounding effect, and that's going to keep you broke. That's going to keep you making a minimal paycheck and getting a payout once every few months or once a month or whatever it is, and or once a year or whatever you've done, right? And just barely breaking even on your exchange with the prop firms, or maybe you're profitable. I'm profitable with my exchange with the prop firms, and I've still quit them, right? And that's just because I see the fallacy now, and I hope that you do too after this. But again, any of this resonated with, hand up, please, in the comments, and in the group chat or in the Discord, you can message and ask in the in the chat room about about where my head's at with this in more detail if you're curious. Discord is free. Don't have a mentorship to sell currently or anything like that. So really just trying to help out here 100%, and really to document this for myself as well, because I don't ever want to allow myself to go back to prop firms. I just can't do it. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry for the extremely long video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.